So CERT, our goal we've defined as to prepare, protect, and defend the island from cyber threats. There's a reason for that. If we talk about an emergency response team and responding, we're already too late. This isn't actually the best way to what's the best way to respond to a cyber attack? Answer is best way to respond to a cyber attack is, of course, not to have one. Yeah, it's that is the really difficult bit. So that preparedness bit, that really matters. So just to explain what that means in practice, I'm going to take the last few minutes of my time on stage, do this. Let's do a ransomware attack. But I'm going to ask you for your help. So how does a ransomware attack start? Someone volunteer. Dave? A phishing email. Great. So we've got a phishing email going through. Who's the phishing email going through? It's going through to my company. Great. Now, a couple of ways to do a phishing email, one of which is just to falsify somebody else's email server, pretend like it's them. How would I spot and defend against that? A spoofed email. Anyone? There must be one techie in the audience somewhere. DMARC, great, okay. Or a number of other different technologies that I can do, email configuration, Tessian, various other different solutions. You see how I got the sponsor name in there to thank them for helping us out. Various other different solutions that we could look to deploy. Alternatively, let's suppose I want to get past that as an attacker. I could actually compromise my company's downstream supplier. So I'm now doing a business email compromise with the downstream supplier in order to send my phishing email. So my phishing email looks legit. Yeah, it's come through, it's reached me on my email account, and it's talking about a conversation we've already had. Dear Matt, further to our conversation last week, here's the file that you asked for. Can you review it today and get back to me? What can I look for to not click on that? We really are short on techies who are awake today. Come on, guys. Dave.
Sense of urgency.
A sense of urgency, yeah. So it's saying tomorrow. I've got to do this tomorrow. Anything else anyone would look for?
Any links or anything, but if it's an attachment, it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, this one has an attachment to an Excel document and 2 links to the same thing. So a few giveaways. Yeah, this might actually not be totally legit. Other things include things like spelling errors or just changes in how someone communicates with you. Let's suppose that email's coming from Dave. I know Dave. If Dave emails me and say, "Dear Mr. Palmer," yeah, what does that say to me? I would be either he's mad at me, which is perfectly possible, to be fair, perfectly possible, and I would understand, yeah, or it's not from Dave, yeah, okay. So I've got a chance to spot it, but if I've not spotted and I look at this and I've got to go back to him. It's really important. It's my lawyer, it's my accountant, it's business partner. Click and open the document, and the document is a Word document with a malicious macro in. How can I stop that? Disable macros. Did I hear something else? Several different answers. So I can disable the macro. The links, actually, I can also protect because I can stop you from clicking on the link by filtering out the malicious website or whatever it is, if it's that. Lots of different ways I can do that. Fundamentally, don't click on macros. Fine. So you stop me clicking on the macro. Now it's got a warning button. What do I do as a user with urgency when there's a warning button telling me not to click? Click. I need this document. Yeah. I almost did it yesterday on an email from Jersey Football Association, and then I realized it was sending me through to the wrong link. Yeah, so you have to be careful. It wasn't what it was meant to be. But I'm clicking on this as a user. Let's suppose I have now clicked on this. Yeah, it's possible. We're not all geniuses, and even those of you who are going to make mistakes sometimes. So we've clicked on the link. My computer is now compromised. I have ransomware running rampant across my network, except maybe I don't. Is there anything I can do to stop that ransomware running rampant across the whole of my network? Sorry, one at a time. Anyone? Pull all the cables out. I was hoping for something a bit more preventative, though. That would potentially work. Shut it down. Anything preventative? Anti-malware is good. Anything else? Network segmentation. There's a number of different controls I can implement to try and reduce the spread of that ransomware. Let's suppose I fail. Yeah, every single computer in my organization now has a giant red screen saying I've got to pay 50 million quid in Bitcoin. What do I do next? Yeah. restore from backups. Where are the backups? In my organization, we back everything up to the cloud. And we back everything up to the cloud using the same admin credentials that we use for the rest of our network. How good are my backups? Well, they are for the attacker because I restore that data, it may be no good. It's complicated. But let's suppose I just want to deal with this now. So I've had it, all my computers are impacted, my customers are moaning, my staff are upset, I'm getting calls from my board saying, what's going on? Get a grip of this. We thought we were paying you to do a decent job. You're our executive team. What do you mean you've been attacked by criminals? What am I going to do? Yeah. That may actually be I've seriously thought about that from time to time, yeah. I'm not going to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I can either pay this ransom or I can not pay this ransom. That's not actually the only choice I've got because it says they want 100 million in Bitcoin. And I want to maybe give myself more time to fix things. So what could I do? I could negotiate. So I'm going to go back to the hackers and I'm going to say, thanks for that. I can't give you 100 million because I don't have 100 million, but we're having a sensible conversation about how we are going to deal with this. They come back and say, indeed, then give me a couple more minutes. Great, okay. Oh, a couple more days, sorry, I'm thinking a couple more minutes on the time there. Hopefully they give me more than that or it's not much use, is it? So a couple more days, fine, okay. We negotiate sensibly and eventually we do things. So one of the things I do is I call my cyber insurance provider. My cyber insurance provider, yeah, you've got 20 million quid of cyber insurance cover. What do I then do? Do I go and declare that to the attackers? No, please don't. Whatever you do, do not declare your cyber insurance to anybody, yeah? Because all they will do is say, great, we know you're good for that, yeah? So don't do that. So I'm not going to do that. I'm negotiating, and eventually I get them down to 50 million quid, and I then have this choice, 50 million. I have a choice. Do I pay or do I not pay? Yeah? If I don't pay, my backups are compromised, my board is furious, my customers are irate, I don't know whether my company will survive. If I do pay, I might get the data back from the hackers, or I might not. They might just keep the money. I may be able to recover it, or I might not. And can I trust that data at the end of the day? Never mind the fact that if I'm in Jersey, I probably have to do KYC and AML checks, which means having a nice chat with the attacker with their passport. Unlikely to happen. But putting that to one side for a minute, am I going to pay or not pay? Who would pay? Who would think about paying? Sorry? Who's the ransomware? We don't know, but yeah. It's not me. I do not have the Maldives thing lined up, in case you're wondering. Who's going to pay? Seriously. I mean, I know no one's sticking their hands up, but really? Is no.
How good that be the ransomware.
Yeah.
A lot of the encryption techniques,
Yeah.
not all that.
Fine.
That would be a lot of the
Fine.
decryption flows would be computer.
Absolutely. So we need some advice and assistance and support. Very good step. So we've got the advice, assistance, and support, and they say it's a legit ransomware from a legit ransomware provider. What am I going to do now? Am I going to pay or not pay? Pay. Anyone else say pay? Couple of pays. That's quite realistic because globally, 66% of people pay. So that's literally everyone that side of the room and not you guys. How many hands just went up? Nobody. So actually, these issues, when they happen to us in practice, turn out to be a lot harder than we think we are when they're looking at them up front. So it becomes quite a difficult problem to solve, and it's about a number of things. So we're not going to pay. Great, right answer. Don't know what happens to the company. We probably do survive. We probably are able to restore. We probably have backups from somewhere else. Our customers on board will at the very least thank us for our ethical decision and for not paying criminals. But I don't know what's going to happen after that point. It's a risk. Yeah. So we've got through our cyber incident, and we need to think about what we can learn from that cyber incident. Well, I'll tell you what I learned from the cyber incidents that I've seen. One is that this risk of spillover that I talked about earlier is very real. Just because you're not being targeted doesn't mean it's not going to happen to you. It is, because that's the nature of it. These attacks are very easy to disseminate globally, very hard to contain. The vendor complexity is a real problem. You could talk about Internet of Things and all sorts of other aspects of this, but fundamentally, one piece of technology or one solution is dependent now on a large number of companies. Making sure we know what they're all doing is very hard. How can we start to solve some of these things? Well, one of the things that happens is this incident happens to me, and I'm embarrassed about it. I don't want to say that I've been hacked. I really don't want to say that I've just paid a criminal gang to get me off the hook. Yeah? And unless it's had a huge impact and that's publicly visible, I'm going to tend to stay quiet. The problem with that, to Ken's point earlier when he was talking about hacking planes, is nobody knows what the near misses and the incidents are. We can't prepare, we can't be ready, we can't advise others to stop them. When we do know, and CERT's been in this position a few times over the last year, we have then been able to go to other companies locally and say, look, this has happened. It could happen to you. This is what it looks like. Look out for it. And on several instances, that has stopped an attack from succeeding. That's what we want to do. So that is about information sharing. It's about collaboration. It's about having the right support. It's about those success factors that were talked about earlier in terms of Ukraine, doing the right housekeeping, doing the right data sharing, having the right support and engagement. And CERT has a role to play in that. Yeah, we can bring to bring that together. So where are my CERT colleagues again? Sorry. They're over at the back there. Feel free to talk to us, engage with us, build relationships with us, because that is ultimately how we begin to do this. I will end on that note. Thank you very much, and thank you, David. I will hand back over to you.